You don't have to. But anyways, you're welcome to season 2 of Live Beats in Therapy. My name is Chef Nee. Let me get comfortable actually. That's the essence of the chair. Was like, are you comfy?
I'm finding it, don't worry.
Yeah, finding comfortable. Okay, so for this episode, I'm going to have a conversation with a good friend of mine called Russell. Are we good friends? Well, you know, life is relative. I can call you a good friend, but maybe that your perception is also necessary. Would you necessarily consider me a good friend, or we are approaching the good side?
We're good friends.
Yeah.
Let's not drag it. We're good friends.
Yeah. Oh. So we're on the same page. So a good friend of mine called Russell, and the topic we will be discussing today is an interesting one. Initially, I didn't think you would want to talk about it. So when I sent it to you, I was actually like waiting for the long, awkward silence. But thankfully, it wasn't long. He didn't say, he just sent an emoji, right?
Yeah, I smiled.
He smiled. And after, I didn't even ask him if he was like interested in talking about it or not.
But here we are.
But here we are. I mean, the fact that you showed up means that maybe you're interested in talking about it.
So what's this topic?
What's the topic? I would actually like you to tell us what we're talking about. So also, what are we talking about today?
You want the world to know about sickle cell.
We're talking about sickle cell. You know, prior to meeting you, I was telling you earlier, prior to meeting you, you know about sickle cell. I don't know if it's a Ghanaian thing, but it's always like that. I don't want to like elephant in the room, but it's a topic that nobody ever talks about. Like, you know that somebody has it, or it's something that is in existence, but we never talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
Is that how you feel? Is that like the real perception? Do you think it's a topic that nobody wants to really tackle, or maybe now people are talking about it?
It is. I think we must speak the truth. It is true that people don't like to talk about it. It's because there's this whole stigma attached to it. It's comparable to like when HIV/AIDS became a thing, and people didn't even want to go close to people who have HIV/AIDS. It's the same with sickle cell. I mean that till date, I still find out like, oh, maybe this person has sickle cell. I'm like, really? I know people normally say it has a look. So you
does it have a look? Or it depends on how you manage it?
Really and truly, I think it depends on how you manage yourself, because it's a genetic disorder. Okay, it's a blood thing. You are born with it. There's nothing you can do about it. But there are certain signs which would show. But then I'll use myself as an example. Most people say if I don't say it, they don't.
If you didn't tell me, I wouldn't have known.
Yeah.
But then again, I don't think I had the perception of people with it, like what a person was. I mean, one or two people I knew about, maybe they had certain symptoms that I could maybe associate it, like sickle cell with that. But with you, it was like until you were not always being told me about, until somebody told me actually, I was like, oh my god, does he? Like, I was like, oh wow, that's what, but he doesn't look
that way.
Like he has it.
Yeah. I mean, so I think people shy away from talking about it because of the stigma that comes with it. And that's the reason why anytime I'm asked to speak about it, I jump on it. Because in as much as it's difficult to talk about, it's also true that people get to know about it. It's the only way to eradicate the stigma. It might not go like 100%, you can't totally wipe it. But it is important that people know what it is, people know how to deal with persons who live with sickle cell. And more importantly, people are informed as to choice of spouse, choice of partner who you decide to have kids with, because that's the only way that you can stop it, or you can stop its spread. You won't be able to stop it, but at least you reduce it to a large extent. Because if you know who you're compatible with, then you make an informed decision as to whether or not to proceed.
So we can agree to the fact that there is a stigma attached to sickle cell.
I think there is. I think we've come a long way, because it was so bad in the past.
Can you give us like an example of like the worst experience when it comes to stigmatization of sickle cell?
There are a number of stories that will shock you. I was diagnosed at 6 months old. At that time, you can't say my leg is hurting or my chest. You can't say any of that. So what do? You cry.
You cry a lot.
So babies in the rural areas, I'm told, I mean, once you are born and you are crying plenty, clearly something's wrong with you. You're thrown into the forest. People have abandoned their kids because it turns out they had sickle cell. Some people view it as a curse. Or in my house, we don't have that thing, but it's from your family. And then they'll leave the child. And it's not like it's contagious. It's not like you touch me and you get it. So is that
especially when it's not something that you chose.
it's not your fault, you know. By no, I mean you did nothing wrong, and yet you get that.
So let's just go back. So growing up, like, was it like, I know based on what you said so far, I can presume that growing up was pretty difficult for you.
It was. It was.
How difficult was that for you?
You have no idea. It's, you know, let's take it from the normal childhood activities. My area, like everybody meets after school, like 3-4 p.m. when the sun is going down, and you play football on the park. Well, I don't with my brothers because we are 3 boys, and we are playing, and then Charlie in the evening I go and lie down, and just because I've exerted a certain level of energy, I break down and go into crisis. And crisis is painful bouts of pain, if I may. So, I don't know if people watching have any idea what sickle cell itself is or how it presents itself.
We're gonna come to like the whole. I wanted to like give like a background to this entire thing, and then we can actually define. Because I think for me, the main issue was the stigmatization of this entire thing. Like even with me, I said prior to meeting you, I knew about it, but it wasn't something I bothered with. And then I met you, and I'm like, then it became a thing that I'm like, okay, now this thing is serious. I know one other person, and it's interesting how it was. Maybe it was when I went to the UK that it was like. It became a normal thing because it's actually something that we'll never talk about. Like, but in the UK, it's like, okay, you need to know this is, and this is one of the reasons why I had the courage to talk to you about was because I have a friend who has sickle cell, and it was a situation of you need to know exactly what it is, and then how to carry yourself around me, and what I need from you at each point. What I need from you when I'm okay and ready, so you should be ready to chill with me. And when I'm having a crisis, this is what I need from you as well.
Right.
Do you remember I asked you, like, we'll come to the conversation, what do you need me to do? Because I want us to look at it from the perspective of you, like the expectation you have with us, in terms of how you expect us to carry ourselves around you, right? When you're okay, when you're having a crisis. Because sometimes it's like, those of us on this side don't know what to do. It's like, because we are oblivious as to what you are going through, it makes us walk on eggshells around you, and that will definitely make you feel some way.
But you know, we've had a conversation recently about how people who care about me, and I mean, I respect that, I appreciate that, I like that people look out for me and all. But the fact is, I'm the one who goes through the crisis when I go through the crisis, 1. 2, for that reason, I'm supposed to be able to know when to like step on the brakes. Am I going too hard? But I'm one individual who has tried to defy all the odds. Because you speak of the stigma and the myths attached to living with this condition. And I think this must have been the hardest part of growing up. They give you like a time frame.
This is how long you are. This is
how long you're expected to live for.
So around this point here, and this is where we are. So we'll just pause here and allow Ira to settle down, and then we'll continue. So we're back. Araz.
Producer, director.
Yeah, producer for today because the producer and the print shows didn't show up today. So yeah, Ira is basically stepping in for him.
It's been said over and over again that these people don't live long.
I mean,
If you make it, if you even make it to 6 years, you are lucky. And when you're at 6 years, they go like, oh, they don't make it past 10. Oh, you reached 10 years. Oh, you survived. Don't worry.
how did that make you feel? Like,
Was
was it some? I said, touch a very question about. Was it like something that you constantly kept dwelling on that? Oh, I have 2 years left to live. I have 2 years left. Like, is it like is that how the life was for you, or you just basically ignored everything that they said and just lived?
I literally just lived one day at a time, trusting God to see me through. It became the only time I felt like, because I've had many different episodes. I remember in class 3 or class 4, I think it was class 4, again, a playful encounter with a classmate of mine ended up in me spending like 6 months in hospital.
6 months.
He carried me and dropped me, and my hip bone hit some stone that was embedded in the floor in like primary school. And so my leg was in a cast. I was in orthopedics, and I mean those bone things take a while to.
For those with sickle cell.
Yeah. To heal.
Okay, let's just backtrack. Please define sickle cell. Like, okay, so this is like
Define.
sickle cell for dummies. Like sickle cell for dummies. Like I very similar to that conversation we had that day. Where was it? It was not honeysuckle. I can't remember where it was. Wherever that place was.
Salisbury.
Salisbury. And I was like, Russell, just explain to me like the lame. Is it lay or lame?
Lay.
The layman's term for sickle cell. Like, just give me me, I'm like at military, like literally like give me like the basic kind of thing. What sickle cell is.
Okay, so how do I put it? I think it's first off, it's a blood disorder. What does that mean? It means that for every regular human being, we have what they call, your blood is made up of white blood cells, red blood cells, and platelets.
Platelets. That's what this is in science class here.
But we are concerned about the red blood cells. The red blood cells are ordinarily circular in nature, and so they flow, like they run like wheels, through your blood vessels. And their main function, or one of their functions, is to carry oxygen to every part of your body. So as we sit, as our knees are bent, even though they are bent, because they are circular in nature, the red blood cells are circular in nature, they are still able to maneuver through even the fold. So for a person living with sickle cell, our red blood cells are abnormal in that they are not always circular. Some of them are actually sickle shaped. So it's not a full circle. And so when we say you're in crisis, it means you are having a moment where those sickle shaped cells have actually blocked the blood vessel. So then there isn't a smooth flow of blood or oxygen through that part of the body, and that causes you extreme pain. I don't know if that makes sense.
It does. I'm just trying to associate it with something. So it's very similar to me, because I've got issues with my knees as well, like sitting in like one particular position for a very long time. But to make it up is like excruciating pain.
Yeah.
I don't want to say it's similar to that, but that's like the only thing that I can associate it with.
Or let's just go earphones, earphones with cords. When you, or water hose.
When you
stop the
flow, then it's the water comes back like a reduced.
Yeah. And so given that difficulty, you have pain. But ours is not caused because of
something you did.
It's just because of the disorder. For a normal person, because their cells are still round and malleable, they're able to bend and go through those joints or those bends. Ours, just by virtue of the fact that you have sickle cell, it means that they are harder and more rigid and like a sickle, so they don't easily go through the vessels, and that's what causes pain. Aside that, there's anemia. So you have lower levels of blood than everybody else. So already you are compromised in a certain way. But when you talk about what's causing the pain, basically that's what it is.
Because I mean, prior to meeting you, I mean, I knew sickle people to be like very small. I mean, they're not necessarily fat, but they have like really yellow. Is it yellow eyes?
Yeah, it is one of the things that
One of the
will
things.
show
That's like
the person
common
is
for
visible.
people in Ghana to have that commonly.
Yeah, I'm not sure the medical reason why, but I know it's called jaundice. So you normally have jaundice diets, and I think it has something to do with anemia, the lower or reduced levels of blood in a person living with sickle cell. I'm not sure what the medical explanation is, but it's one of the things that you'll be able to use to tell that this person may have sickle cell, the color of their eyes.
Living with sickle cell in Ghana versus living with sickle cell in the UK, is there a difference?
Big difference. I think the thing with living with sickle cell, like when we started, we spoke about its management.
Yeah.
And so it is important that when you, the patient, know what to do to take care of yourself, but there are times when it's really beyond you, you need a hospital. I can only speak for myself and where I go to. I go to the adult sickle cell clinic at Kolebu. When you do it is not a 24-hour facility. They don't work.
It's not 24 hours.
No, it's not. They don't work on weekends and holidays.
So if you have a crisis on a weekend or on a holiday, what happens?
I should go to a private clinic where they may not necessarily have
No, how?
specialized care.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's like most people know about, oh yeah, this is a sickle cell person and this is what you should do, give them fluids, etc. But every case is unique.
Cannot just send
As opposed to the UK, where if you come in, and I went in as a student on a student visa, but they gave, like, once you register with the GP and you tell them, oh, you have sickle cell, they refer you immediately to the specialist unit. I went to the specialist unit, I was given a card. So you know how ERs are in the UK.
Yes.
If you go to the ER on a regular day, you can wait like 3 hours before you're attended. But because I had that card, I didn't have to wait that long because they know that your care is different.
This
It's
could escalate into something else.
something real quick.
Yeah.
And so the care is different. You are booked for your regular checks. Medication is free. But here,
Is there a thing of like it's like it's a cultural thing where they're like, oh, these people will not live long anyway, so it's like let's just is that what it is versus
I pray that is not it. It is really a prayer that is not it. I think it will take some time, but we'll get there. Eventually.
How do we change that? Is there a way to change the attitude, or maybe well, this is one of the ways talking about it, but it's like any other way to change the perception, or I don't know, is there anything we can do about it, or it's just like to endure until somebody things will open the 24-hour facility?
The thing about like providing the requisite care is it must start from policy, and what informs policy it starts from a conversation. So if you're having the conversation and you're making the relevant noise, then the powers that be would say, oh, it's unfortunate that all these years, and my folder number at the adult clinic is 13228, 13,228. Means I'm the 13,228 patient. No, I must know it because I might not always have my card with me, and I might end up there because maybe I'm in town and something happens and I go. So I must have my folder number in my head, like so I know my folder number. But I just mentioned the number for you to realize how many people have lived with sickle cell, and I'm not the last patient. I'm not sure where they are, like their folder numbers have reached now. But if over 13,000 people live with sickle cell, we still don't have a facility that can take care. And you know, there may be private facilities that may have people, because I know like places like Nyaho, etc. People go there, but we all can't afford it. And Kolebu is supposed to be like the #1 teaching hospital in Ghana. I doff my hats to them in terms of the service that they give you. Like once you come in and like
And
me, I'm a regular.
they're available.
I'm a regular, you know, so Russell is here again. Oh, Russell, what is it that's happening this time? This time is this and this and this and that, and they know what to do. I'm going to digress also and compare it to when I go to like a private facility where they don't know Russell.
So you're just another patient.
You're just another patient. So sometimes you tell them, for instance, that one of the most basic things is for them to stick a needle in your hand for them to administer fluids. And I tell them, yo guys, I don't have veins on the back of my hands. They've all collapsed. You should either come up here or up here. And they say, oh no, it will be painful. I'm like, I know my body and I'm telling you what to do. Like at that point, you just start to get agitated because very often when you're in pain, you are tipped very easily.
Yeah, because you don't have the time to talk, like to discuss things, like just
You
do
know?
it. I mean, yeah.
So,
But that's interesting because I mean, it's like because people would actually go to private facilities because the care there is presumed better than like the government facility. So for you to say this,
I'm not shading any
but that's
private
the truth.
institution. What I think is there should be a standardized procedure and it should be revised consistently, you know, so that for anybody who comes in with sickle cell, look out for these. If the person presents with this, do this. If the person presents with that, do that. But to the extent that the patient knows his body, I mean, of course, there are the cases where the person is being outrageous or asking for something that the doctor cannot easily just provide without having run some tests and stuff.
The necessary checks being
But that standard care or procedure that we are talking about should cut across. It doesn't matter where you are, whether you're in Tamale or in Wale Wale or in Cape Coast or wherever you are. If you present at a hospital with sickle cell, whether it is private or public, they should know what to do. So that if they provide that first-hand treatment, second, day two, and it's not getting better, then they can transfer you to proper facility. Because you see, the thing is, I know that the powers that be, I know like the Sickle Cell Foundation of Ghana and then other bodies, everybody is trying to attack it in one way or the other. But fundamentally, what are we looking for? We are looking for a standardized care and then also like a support system for persons who live with the condition. So for one of the groups that I've mentioned, they are looking at, let's start from the beginning. When a child is born and you take that initial blood sample, also run a test to determine whether they have sickle cell or not. They call it the newborn screening, which is one good way to go, so that from the child's birth, the parents will know, the child itself will know that, oh, I live with sickle cell and so I'm supposed to do this or that.
Because I was just going to ask what you mean by support groups. What you mean by is once you run the initial testing, whatever the child has sickle cell, then they refer the family to a support group or family, or like that would basically educate them on how to.
So the way the sickle cell, adult sickle cell clinic works, the pediatric sickle cell clinic works, once you go there, I bet you in 3 visits, you see one person twice. You understand? So invariably you become a family. You understand? And so I can share with you what my experiences are. Oh, this works for me. Does this work for you? Try this. Or even the parents. I mean, if you listen to my parents talk about their experiences with me, I mean, people thought my dad was a doctor just because he spent so much time in hospital with me. So he can talk to another dad and say, oh, try this. And it works. So in as much as there's a whole medical aspect or the science of it, it is also important that support is available and immediately it will come from family. Very often the nurses are very, very encouraging, and the doctors as well. You know, they'll tell you that, oh, you know that this is normal, you'll be fine. Sometimes you question it because you are in so much pain, you really pay attention into that.
Have you lost anyone that you know anybody that has died from this from sickle cell?
Yes.
How does that make you feel?
It could have been me.
Does it give you a question? So it just like, makes you grateful for every day that you have.
For every day that I'm alive, I'm grateful.
So that explains why you live life to the fullest.
Do I?
Let's not, this is,
I think I'm not there yet.
let's just come back. Oh, so this is not ending, and when you get there, we can't.
We try.
So, okay.
Because see, the thing is that other people who are scared to live,
But that's not a way to live, though.
that is not a way to live.
Should
And
one
that even people who do not even have any condition but are still living in a certain bubble, why would you do that? Meet people, talk to people, have new experiences, shine your eye.
What usually goes through your mind when you're having a crisis? I'm saying this from a friend's point of view. Like, so what was having a crisis? What's going through his mind?
You'll be surprised. The last time I had a crisis, the thoughts around my mind were, you haven't felt pain this bad in a while. Sometimes it starts gradually. So for me, I'll have pain like on the back of my neck, maybe my waist. So once I start feeling that way, okay, increase your fluids, take your painkillers.
Yeah.
So you start like the first aid. But you can do first aid like maybe 24 to 48 hours and nothing is happening. If there's no improvement, then it gets worse. And that's when it starts slowly. So it gets worse, then it starts to spread. Then it becomes localized. So maybe it's just my knees, or it's just my waist, or it's just my elbows. Like, it gets worse. And if you are taking the pain meds and the pain is reducing, then you can tell that this is something you can manage. But when you are doing the first aid and nothing is happening, then you're in trouble. You need to go to the hospital. So the last time I was in hospital, I remember saying to myself, I don't remember the last time I felt pain this bad. Like, wow, I had almost forgotten what it felt like. And then if it's so bad, you realize that then my immediate family, they start to worry. So my brother, one of my brothers, he is very much I don't care. But once you see that he's changed, sometimes he can't even come to the hospital.
Then I'm one of those people, I can't come to the hospital.
Then I begin to worry.
I'm
like, then it means this is bad. Like, there was one time that, because normally, I can be so sick, I can't even stand to take a shower. So, very often, it's only a few days after I've been unwell that I see myself. And there was one time I was in the US and had a crisis, and I looked at myself in the mirror and I was like, my God. I think that was the worst crisis I've ever had. That was the worst, because I was in a different jurisdiction. They didn't know what medication to. Eventually, everything was taken care of. But when it started, like, I'm told I said things that I don't know I said. Because then there was hay fever as well. Yeah.
So this guy saying if you're going through a crisis, whatever you say we shouldn't take it, I shouldn't take it personally.
Am I the best person for that question?
Wow.
No, but truthfully, anybody who knows me, it depends on how close we are. Those who are close enough will get me to pour my heart out to them, tell them exactly how I feel. If you are not close enough, I'll likely ignore you. And people don't like that they don't even know that I'm sick, because I just won't mind anybody. I don't even have the presence of mind.
So those are the things I wanted to hold on. Like, so for those of us on the outside, it's not us. It's just you.
It's just how
in a place where you want to be left alone.
Yeah.
So the thing is, when you're having a crisis, is it a time of leave yourself alone, or is it a time of be concerned, or it depends?
It depends. It depends on how bad it is. It depends on who is concerned. I mean, there's some people I don't have a choice. I don't have a choice as to whether my mom sees me unwell or not. But if I'm saying...
But you would rather be didn't see you that way.
Yeah. Just always have the best side.
It's interesting how you said that, because my friend said the same thing. Like, I would rather you didn't see me like that.
Because
Why?
Okay, this is the reason. I dated a girl once who saw me and just broke down. And that for me was worse, because
it's not helping me.
It's not helping. I mean, now I try to put myself in their shoes as well. Because I understand that it's hard to see.
But this is not the time to break down.
This is not the. I don't need that from you right now. I don't need that from you right now.
So you rather be act strong with like whilst you were there, and then if you want to break down and cry, go outside and cry, but no.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I know people that have done that. Like, so the person was around you and all tough and running all the errands and everything, but she got home and so it was her mom who told me when I got better. So she had never seen her daughter cry so much in her life. Even when something's happening to her.
It's not that.
It's not that bad. But she saw me in hospital and so I mean there are times when it's terrible. So like if I'm still talking to you, if I'm unwell and I'm still talking to you, it's really not that bad. And I pray that I don't get bad episodes moving forward.
So when you're going through a crisis, what do you want from us? Those of us on the outside.
If you know I'm unwell, just say a prayer for me. That's it. Or
That's
continue praying until you hear from me.
Because my mind would, by natural disposition, would be to reach out.
Yeah. Come, I want to come see you. Nah. Not for me.
Interesting.
Maybe other people. But
no, but that's what I'm saying. I just know two people, and with him as well. You know, we just like block the whole world out, and then when he's fine, he's fine. Initially, I used to take it. I used to find like get angry, like, but you cannot. I always say you cannot drop me and pick me whenever you want. And then he explained, like with you as well, that that's not the case. It's like sometimes I don't even have my mind is not even at a place where I can have a sensible conversation with you. I don't want anybody. I just want to sulk. Just want to sulk by myself.
Or you come and I'm in so much pain. I've turned. I'm facing the wall. It's not like I don't want to see you. I don't appreciate your being there. It's just what I'm going through. So it's important that we know our friends. We know what works for them and what doesn't work for them. And everybody is different. See, imagine that I was the guy who had the expectation that Nidu will come and see me in the hospital.
And then I don't tell them.
No, it's not even that you don't tell me. Some people will come, and this has happened to me. Family again. He gets to the hospital, he just can't stand seeing sick people. So he can't come in. How does that make me feel? In as much as I'm trying to understand him, it's also going to have like an emotional bearing on me. Like I'm causing all these people.
Is this a situation where like over the years, like the experiences you've had over the years has brought you to the place where you've gotten to the point, like you come to the mindset that I'd rather it doesn't come, and then when everything is done, you can come back to. Is it like you've been forced to, like you've grown to this point?
Yeah, I'd say so.
But the younger Russell have expected people to turn up. Yes.
The younger Russell was always hopeful. I was always looking forward to the attention. It was something that I looked forward to. I held on to those things to want to come back. I think I've evolved.
So those times that was what kept you going.
Yeah.
But now it's changed.
Yeah.
To don't show up.
it's changed to wait one, how close are we to
there's a lot at stake rather than just anybody just coming in.
If you know me, you know that our friend, the one we both know, who was in the UK with, the one who introduced me to you, more or less. Ordinarily, I wouldn't have wanted him ever to see me in crisis, but there was a time in the UK where I went to see him, and then I went down that road. I told you that story.
And he never will never forget it.
He will never forget it.
Because every time we talk about us, he's like me. I was like he would never forget it.
And you see, like I wouldn't want people to remember me because of that. But I didn't have a choice. And this is a situation where now my mom was worried, and he was the last person she knew I was with. So she called him from Ghana. Like, so everybody's reaction is different. But if you've reached the level where I've made you understand how things work for me, the person I go like, if even I'm talking to you in the first place, the person I go like, so is it okay for me to come see you?
Ask, okay, so the right thing to do is ask if it's a good time. Don't just show up.
And I'm saying that even for you to ask me that question, you must be on a certain level.
Even if we weren't and I asked you, what would the response be?
If you weren't and I asked you, and you asked, I might not even see the message.
Because we're not even having a conversation for me to even see. Right. Okay, so it's just like, let's just move away from all that. So when you're not in a crisis, what do you expect from us? For us to like chill until thy kingdom comes.
Be happy. Let's my way said this. You live for the memories.
That's very true.
You make them. And I think
so it means we shouldn't be stressing out when we think they're achieving too much.
I understand. I mean, I have.
But I hope you get to like when we are like worried. I
totally.
You honestly do get it.
I totally understand. Sometimes I'm stubborn. Sometimes I'm stubborn. I know.
Okay, but.
Somebody's giving me
okay, so I'm waiting for the but moment. Like I honestly get a but. But. No but.
But nothing.
But well, we live for the memories, so you're living the life.
I mean, live sensibly, basically. If you think I'm doing too much, and I don't think I'm doing too much, it's one thing. But if you think I'm doing too much, and I know I'm doing too much as well,
yeah.
If I also know I'm doing too much, the sensible thing to do is to slow down. And I mean, these days I quarrel with my parents a lot about these
But okay, so my final question would be how do we keep you accountable and not overstep our boundaries?
Talk to me like an adult.
Don't treat you like a child.
Don't talk to me like a child, because I'm not a child. And you're not the one who goes through the pain, it's me.
But we worry.
Yeah.
It's not any easier for us, you know. You know, it's like it's not any easier. No, it's
I don't think we'll end this debate if we start it.
No, okay. It's not any easier for us.
You and I have had a conversation recently, and we've come to an agreement that, see, I need to push myself to a certain level for the next year at least, in order for me to achieve the goal I've set for myself.
And I said, okay.
Because
because
it's just 1 year.
No, not because
you wanted to end the conversation.
No, not because I didn't really have a choice.
No.
It's not because I wanted to end the conversation. Well, to be fair, with the mosquitoes that didn't want to scare malaria. So you can find this way, just get to joke and go away. But it was one of those situations where I didn't really have a choice. Because I also understand that it's not it's not easier for you. And I cannot ask you not to live because of this. So I do have my reservations and my fears, but I told you I trust you have adults and make the right decision. So that's fine. Because my opinion is my opinion. Your life is your life. I can really expect my opinion, but the decision should come from you because you actually walk the steps. I don't. So you said it's a 1 year thing. So yeah, it's been like 3 weeks, but still counting. Yeah. But so how do we keep you accountable? Speak to you like an adult. You treat you like a child. What else?
So if say you're with me and I'm jamming way too hard, for instance, just make sure that every now and then you hand me water. I might tell you off, but
let's talk about those things. So you need to be dehydrated all the time.
I need to be hydrated.
Are you sorry?
God, don't misinform the listening public. Hydrated.
You need to be hydrated all the time. What else? Like right now, I need to get you hydrated. What else? Please, would you explain some water?
Yeah, I like some water.
It's true.
You're making me sweat.
You need to be hydrated all the time. What else?
I need to be what?
Hydrated. Hydrated. You need to be hydrated all the time. What else? Once you can please allow myself to drink water because I don't drink water like for the last like half hour. Okay. Well, check. You need to be hydrated all the time. And what else? Make sure you're eating well.
So I eat. I don't have a problem with food. If you know me, I don't have a problem with eating.
So just make sure you're hydrated all the time.
Hydration.
The water helps in the blood flow, right? Because water, yeah. Even for just an average person, you tell you to drink water. Enough water.
If say
You mentioned complain of pain anywhere. We need to do we need to take that seriously? That's another thing.
that's if I tell you.
So if you don't tell,
I'll give you a typical example. 2 or 3 years ago, Christmas time, the boys and I, we are blooming, jamming.
Russell's always jamming.
Then it reached that point where I had a few too many. Thing is, I think it was at that point that I realized that my brothers are not kids. Like, they are not stupid. Because the whole time they just kept checking around, so are you okay?
Are you the oldest?
Yes, I'm the oldest.
Wow.
So, Ross, are you okay? I'm like, yeah. And then at the point, I just noticed that I had slowed down. So he comes back to me, yo, what's up? You cool? I'm like, nah, not okay. So then he tells Sasa, then all of a sudden they're going, hey, give us way, group us back. So everybody, they just kept shoving people and they were like walking me outside. I went out and I think I don't remember what I threw up. I don't think I did.
You got there.
Yeah. No, I don't think I threw up, but I needed to rehydrate. Because at that point, like, there was so much energy, there was so much hype. So then literally everybody I was there with, they also started coming up one by one. And it was why it was slowing down. I'm like, well, I go back and go and jump. But I needed that moment of.
Was it like a reality check for you?
And before everybody, Sasa came back out with water, so Ivan came with water, like.
So they know what to do. Like you need to be hydrated regardless.
I mean, but it's life is not like that. You don't stay without drinking and then suddenly you want to drink 6 bottles of water. I think that it will do magic, but it would help. And then at least I'm calm. I catch my breath. I get like fresh air. And after I calmed down, I went back in, but this time, like, I was more cautious. I wasn't as hyper.
You couldn't have been cautious at that level. I mean, at that point that you were at.
I couldn't have been cautious. Why?
Because you're drunk, you had one too many. So,
anyways, so I'm just saying that, like, if we are jamming, if ever we are jamming, and get to that.
So the most important thing is just ensure that whoever plays just stays hydrated all the time. That's like the least you can do. And then
and for the last crisis I had, it was very silly. I told you the story, didn't I?
You didn't tell me.
I got to eat a buka and I asked my friend and
I still keep laughing because there's another person in the room that's like she's like
shaking her head, she knows the story.
Like Russell again. Okay, what happened at Buka?
After eating, right, I think I drank Sprite. I had 2 bottles of Sprite or something. And my friend was like, I was like, I'm going to get water. He's like, the water is 10 Ghana. Why will you buy water for you? So after eating, yes, I had drank Sprite, but I didn't drink any water. And I think that was soon after the lockdown. So I hadn't been out in a while. And that day, I intended to go and have a good time out. So I moved from Buka, still didn't get water, went and started.
Because it was 10 Ghana.
Because it was 10 Ghana, one guy. That's the funny part. But the thing is, you must, at every point in time, I must catch myself. And that's the thing.
And does that always happen for you? You always catch yourself at some point? So.
Sometimes, not all the time. So that's why it's in those moments that I'll need the people around me, I guess, to find out. I also don't want it to be at the forefront of your mind. That makes you keep that.
It shouldn't be a thing.
Yeah, don't make it a thing. Thing is, for anybody living with sickle cell, I earnestly believe that God doesn't give you any cross that you can't bear.
That's serious.
Yeah. And I think it's not just for persons living with sickle cell, for everybody. You go through the stuff you go through because you have the shoulders to carry it. Before I used to ask myself the question, why me? Why should I be the one to go through all this pain and this trouble? Why did my parents do this to me? So I came to the point where I realized that I'm God's gift to the world. And so whatever He's put in me is because He knows that I can deal with it. And so till He calls me home, everything I'm supposed to do, I will do. I'm not going to let the fact that I live with sickle cell stop me from pursuing my dreams. And this is for especially those persons living with sickle cell who feel like they are handicapped in one way or the other. There are people who don't have hands and don't have legs who do more than you do in a day. So don't let the fear of I might break down. Yes, live cautiously, but still live. And for those of you who know someone in your circle, you have a family member or something, don't look down on them. They are not any less than you. There was a person who had sickle cell. Everybody thought the person made their whole life about sickle cell. They were always looking for pethidine and morphine and they'd get high on it and all of that. That lady died. And I asked, did she die from sickle cell? They said, no, she died from a car accident. You also can die from a car accident, God forbid, but we are all human beings. The fact that you know someone who lives with a certain condition doesn't make them any less able than you are. So you also should render your support, find out how best you can be a friend to that person when they need you, because we do need the friends. Remember I mentioned the support system, the support group. And I shout out to my support system, they are great. They do help us along the way. And really and truly, don't live as if there is no tomorrow. That's not wise. Live life, but live sensibly. And yeah.
Sister, did you blame your parents at a point?
Nah, I never did.
Did you ever question that, like, if things were going like?
The one thing I meant to say throughout the interview I haven't said is the only way, or one of the surest ways not to continue the spread of sickle cell is to check. I don't think my parents knew. Okay, I don't think my parents knew. And thankfully, we are three. I'm the only person who has sickle cell. My two other brothers each carry a trait, but they don't have the condition. So, but I know other families that are not like that. Like, the children are mad upset.
Because I was going to ask you, how do you move past that? But you're never there. So
I don't think I've ever. People have asked me, why do your parents do that? I'm like, really? Really? It's not their fault. I mean, God gave what He wanted to give.
So it's also like a learning experience for them.
It is.
And I'm sure now they can't stop talking about it. Because it's not. So for each episode, my guests has to either dance to a song or they have to rap to our theme instrumental. But Russell has decided to dance. As he's warming up. They're both warming up. So he's dancing to Ketcher's No Doll. But the interesting thing is for each one, you can only do 1 minute. So we are no dolling each other. It was a competition that we had a couple of months ago and I won, but he wants to retaliate. So he wants to retaliate. Like a marshmallow.
Drop the song, make me dance.
I'm sorry, I'm sorry.
DJ come in alive. Drop the song, make me dance. Why the party there today? Hey mama, hey,
It's alright,
let's take your money and get one up. Hey mama, hey, I never said. So why the party
I'm sorry. I'm not bad. I'm like terrible. Yeah. I'm not like terrible. I tried.